So, Berserk. It's often considered one of the greatest stories of all time, and for good reason. Despite it being like one of the darkest things I've ever witnessed in my entire life, it's still one of the most hopeful stories in a way. I started watching and reading Berserk a few months ago. I bought the deluxe edition, and no joke, I read it backwards at first because I thought it was like a comic book where you just read it left to right instead of right to left. I don't know. I thought it was kind of bad because I couldn't even comprehend what was even happening. But I eventually figured it out, and once I did, it was alright. It was, it wasn't mind blowing, but I didn't really understand what was going on. And keep in mind, I do have the attention span of a goldfish, and I have not read anything since Goosebumps when I was a little kid in like elementary school. So after I read the Black Swordsman arc, I kind of just quit for a while because, well, let's be honest, those books are expensive as crap, and I'm a poor McDonald's boy. But then I realized there was an anime, a TV show. There was multiple TV shows. I was just dipping my toes into anime at this time. I'm pretty sure I had only like watched Evangelion and Death Note at the point. Maybe Cyberpunk too. I don't know. I can't remember. Who knows? Who cares? But I did almost watch the Berserk movies in the 2016 version first, but honestly, I'm really glad I did my research first because those look kind of awful. But eventually, I found the entire Berserk 97 series on YouTube. Literally, the entire thing is just on YouTube somewhere. I'm sure you can find it. Like, I literally just looked it up. And, like, as soon as I watched it, I was hooked. And I honestly had not got hooked on a piece of fiction like this since, like, Red Dead Redemption or Breaking Bad. So yeah, as soon as Guts came on screen, I knew it'd be special. But there was one character that really stuck out the most. Well, I've never really seen a character like Griffith before. Throughout the show, Guts learned to look up to him, and honestly, maybe I got a little bit too immersed in the world, but honestly, I did too. If I was in the world of Berserk, I would have joined the Band of the Hawk. Assuming I could, of course. Assuming I could fight. Honestly, I'd probably be like a random dude, but anyways. And there's one reason for all this. There's one reason everyone joins him, everyone looks up to him, and it's Griffith's dream. Griffith is driven by this dream to have his own kingdom, and it's ultimately kind of a selfish dream. He doesn't want to make the world a better place or anything. He just wants a kingdom. He just wants to be a king and lead his own kingdom. But honestly, I couldn't help but root for him. Neither could the rest of the Band of the Hawk. Griffith finds these people when they are broken or like have no purpose. They look up to Griffith as a hero. Like Casca, for example. You found her while she was being attacked by the one weird noble guy. But he didn't even kill the guy for her. Like I feel like most other people would. He gave her a chance and gave her the sword so she could save herself. And she ended up joining him. And she ended up being his most loyal soldier for a long time. See, Griffith has this way of making people feel powerful, like they matter or something. Like he's not just a leader for them, he's something greater. But unfortunately, Griffith does not feel the same about them. Now, I do believe Griffith cares about them in a way, but definitely not like they do him. Because nothing matters to Griffith more than his dream. Griffith feels guilt when they die. Especially the kid that wanted to be a soldier with the soldier toy. And Griffith literally started ripping into his own skin, trying to cope with his death. He slept with Genin, I think it was his name. Oh well, it's not important, but he slept with Genin because he was desperate and he didn't want to sacrifice more of his men to fund his dream, because like they needed to win battles to get money, so he figured sleeping with him would just be way easier than sacrificing a bunch of people. And after that he started harming himself, so yeah, he didn't take to it too well mentally. But all this leads into the eclipse, but I'll talk about that in a minute because first I have to talk about Guts. So Guts is literally me. I'm kidding, but I do relate to a lot of his story. Had a pretty good life. Honestly, I had a pretty good life, to be honest, and I haven't suffered anywhere near as much as Guts has. I mean, who has really? But the main reason why Guts is one of the greatest characters I've ever witnessed in my entire life is because of his purpose, or sometimes lack of purpose. Guts has no idea what his purpose is. Every day, he has always just fought because he didn't want to die. That's basically what I was doing. Well, I wasn't fighting, but you know what I mean, I was kind of just living day to day, depressed, with no purpose in life. I lived because I didn't want to die. And I'd spend my days scrolling and laying around being a bum, basically. I mean, I still do that, but hold on, I'm getting somewhere. Then I watched this guy going through the same thing as me, in a way, Guts didn't allow himself to really get close to anybody, which is something I sort of struggle with. Like, I have friends, of course, but I tend to joke around all the time instead of actually expressing my emotions. So all this changes for Guts when he meets Griff. Guts didn't want to join him at first because, I don't know, he just didn't want to, I guess. So Griffith really had to beat him into joining because Griffith really wanted him, like, really bad. And the reason Griffith wanted Guts is debatable, but I believe it's because Griffith related to him. Because, like, when you look at these two characters, they look and seem completely different, but if you really pay attention, they're very similar. It's like Guts is stoic and a big brute guy with big old sword, and Griffith is this tiny little dude that inspires people. But the truth is, both of these characters are alone. Griffith has all these people who love him, but he can't fully be himself around them. He tried with Casca, especially when he was harming himself, but he couldn't fully commit to it, But with Guts, he can actually be himself. Guts is like his emotional support because he can't be vulnerable around anyone else. And Griffith gives Guts a reason to fight. And Guts honestly finds a family with the Hawk. He falls in love with Casca. He sees people like Judo, Pippin, and even Corcus like they're his brothers. And life is going pretty good for Guts, honestly. Until one day when he hears Griffith's speech.
I'm sure your friends are equally as fascinated by you, and that attracts them to you.
They are my able soldiers, it's true. They are dedicated comrades who sacrifice themselves for my dream so that it might be real. But that does not make them friends. In my mind, a true friend never relies on another's dream. The man who would be my friend must have his own reason for living, beyond me. And he should put his heart and soul into protecting his dream. He should never hesitate to defend it, even against me. For me to call a man my friend, he must be equal to me in all respects.
In the speech, Griffith talks about his dream and how important they really are, which I personally believe is true. But then he says this. Griffith tells Charlotte that he doesn't believe the band or Guts are his friend, which honestly destroys Guts. Guts realizes he doesn't have his own dream. He's fighting for Griffith. Guts is just a soldier, not his friend. So Guts is still purposeless, and Guts realizes he has to be an equal to Griffith to find his own dream, so they could be true friends, true equals. After the war, he decides to leave. Griffith sees this as a big old betrayal. Griffith honestly believes killing Guts is better than him leaving, so they fight, and Guts wins, obviously, and wins his freedom. So Guts walks away, find himself, and Griffith is broken, and Guts does not even realize this. Well, I know he realizes Griffith is hurt. That's why he says he'll get back up again, but he doesn't know how much Griffith relies on him. So Griffith lost his emotional support guy and the only person who made Griffith feel human. So Griffith did not know how to handle this, so he went and slept with Princess Charlotte to try and cope with it, but the dude literally thinks about Guts the entire time. Griffith might just might be a little bit fruity, but that's not the point of this video. So Guts goes off to find his purpose, and it's just not fulfilling for him. It took me a minute to realize that these were like some of the most important episodes of the show in a way, at least for Guts' character. But after Guts left, he was finally free, and of course he fought, because that's all he really knows. And it's honestly what he kind of enjoys doing. But this time, he fights for himself. And one day, Guts finds out that the Hawks are on the run, and he goes to save them. And he finds out that Griffith is in prison, and Midland has been hunting ever since Griffith did what he did. So Guts and the gang go to save him, and they find him, and he's literally broken. His body is destroyed, and literally the only thing that kept him sane was thinking about Guts the entire time. When they rescue Griffith, he realizes everyone has kind of moved on without him, in a way. Casca's in love with Guts, the band of the Hawks seem to listen to Guts now. From Griffith's point of view, he lost everything because of Guts. But believe it or not, Griffith still could not bring himself to hate Guts, because Guts was the only person Griffith related to. So before we get into the really heavy bad stuff, we just have to bring it back to Guts again. Okay? Now Guts still plans on leaving again, but he asked Casca to come with him. And the entire band of the Hawk want to follow him now. So yeah, that's pretty great. And what happens next is literally the reason I made this video.
Perhaps this is what I was looking for my whole life. I didn't realize it until this very moment. But everything I wanted back then is right here before me now. Why don't I ever realize what I have until it's lost to me?
Because Guts realizes this is what he wanted all along. Guts realizes dreams are pointless without people. When Guts leaves, he's lonely. Even if he did find his dream, it would have been pointless without connection. And that is how Guts is different from Griffith. Griffith never realizes this, and Griffith still believes his dream is more important than the people around him. And that's what led to the eclipse. So after Griffith realizes he's truly lost everything, he tries to assault Casca in the little carriage thing. Now, I think it's because he wants control back and he wants to hurt Guts. And honestly, I think it was also because of Casca too, because she was once his most loyal soldier, and she was literally in love with the dude. And now she just feels bad for him. Ultimately, he cannot do anything to her because he's too weak and pathetic at this point. So he runs away. Well, not literally, because his legs don't work, but he uses the horse to run away, and he starts hallucinating and thinking about his dream, but then he ends up crashing. Griffith then attempts to kill himself, but he's not even strong enough to do that. But then he sees Guts running towards him. Now, Griffith does not want Guts to touch him. I think it's because if he does, it would like literally break him, like break his brain. Because Guts was the only person that Griffith really wanted control over the most, and now Guts just feels bad for him, which makes him feel pathetic. So Griffith whips out the Behelit. How crap do you say that? Well, anyway, he whips out that big old red face thingy, and he summons the God Hand. The God Hand gives Griffith a choice: to sacrifice his friends for his dream, or his dream for his friends. But the thing is, Griffith never had the realization Guts had earlier, that people are just as important as dreams. So honestly, it's debated whether or not Griffith would have still sacrificed everyone if the Void didn't literally manipulate him into doing it. But honestly, I kind of feel like he would have, because all the Void really did was remind Griffith of how he already sees people. Like, he sacrificed others for his dream before, so he might as well do it now, or their deaths would be worthless. So Griffith chooses to give up his humanity, and he sacrifices. So after this, things get bad quickly. The band of the Hawk all die in brutal ways, like the worst ways possible, good lord, leaving Casca and Guts as the only survivors left. Griffith is now a god named Femto, and nobody can stop him. Griffith wants to regain control over Guts and Casca. Griffith wants revenge, so he assaults Casca in front of Guts in like one of the worst scenes probably ever. And you might be thinking, like, why would Griffith do this? Well, Casca chose Guts over him. The band chose Guts to be their leader, and the worst part is that Griffith feels that Guts abandoned him. So Griffith takes everything away from Guts, just like he feels Guts did to him. And at this point, Griffith has no humanity left. So I know what you might be thinking. How could a story like this change your life? Well, you know, watching Berserk for the first time, I kind of looked up to how Griffith looked at his dreams. I felt maybe one day I could have a dream like that. It was honestly kind of inspiring and motivating in a way. And that must have been how Guts and the rest of the Band of the Hawk felt. So for a long time, I figured I could earn love in a way, like in a way, by being successful. So I kind of neglected people. Like, I didn't really pay much attention to people. Like, even my own family. Like, I don't know. I just figured, like, one day I would get rich and achieve my dreams, and I'd be happy. And I could make them happy with my big old money bag. Honestly, I've just felt really alone the entire time. And it's all my fault, too. And you know, the worst part is I have not been successful at literally anything. So I was, like, bound to be miserable until I kind of realized this. So, like, I think, assuming one day I would get rich and achieve my dreams, does any of it really matter if you don't have anybody to share it with? So I've realized that connections to people are what really matter in life. And Griffith was wrong. I mean, yeah, sure, dreams are definitely important. They give you direction and make life meaningful, but notice how, like, a lot of rich people are depressed. They fulfilled their dream, but that's all they have now. They're all alone. And this is what Guts realizes after he reunites with the Band of the Hawk. That dreams aren't everything, and connections matter just as much and maybe even more. And Griffith never realized that, so he lost his humanity in the process. Yeah, I do have a dream now, in case you were wondering. I want to write stories like this one to try and change people's lives and perspective on life, like Berserk and other stories did for me. And yeah, sure, I'm like really lazy and I'm a professional procrastinator, but I believe I'll figure it out and win one day. I hope so anyway. But now I've realized I need the people I love to be there with me when I win. So yeah, I'm gonna work on myself and try to go out more. Maybe go see my friends more and family, because that ultimately is what really matters in life. So yeah, that's the end of the video, and it's the first time I've made one like this, so hopefully you enjoyed it. Now I'm currently in the middle of reading Berserk, so like, please don't spoil anything after the Golden Age arc, I beg you. So yeah, hopefully I will make more videos like this. So yeah, see ya. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Catch you on the flip side.